Hi, it's Leslie Meredith with Breakbulk Events and Media. We're here in Houston at Breakbulk Americas, our second day, and I have Philip Ovanessians from Worley here with me in the studio. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Leslie.
Philip was on a panel on oil and gas, the energy transition. So can you give us a real-world picture of what does this mean? What is the energy transition? How long will it take? What does it entail?
So what we're seeing right now, especially on, as I'd mentioned in the panel discussions, on the feedstock, which is essentially the materials to power the process side of it, we're seeing a lot of renewables. We're seeing, for instance, a hydrogen process that uses wind technology. And we're seeing, for example, traditionally where coal was a feedstock is being converted to recycles for a downstream chemicals process. So there's a lot of opportunities on that space as well for renewables. So it's not necessarily the entire renewable project per se, but components of it. And also with some of the macroeconomics, specifically in places such as Australia and others where there's energy credits. There are a lot of traditional owners that are looking at how they can use wind and solar to power some of these processes.
Okay, so what is the state of oil and gas? Is it going to disappear as an energy source for us tomorrow?
Actually, I don't think so at all. What we're seeing is different types of owners. Personally, I'm involved in a lot of projects where there's country specifics activity going on. And so there's a lot of opportunity still on the oil and gas space. And I really look at it as more of a complement, if anything, on it. Still renewables, yes, there's a lot of push by public as well as private companies, push by the boards, as well as the executive teams and the management teams. But still, there's still a lot of activity in the hydrocarbon space.
Absolutely. Okay. One topic that's come up again and again during this conference is early contracts and the uncertainty around freight rates. How are you dealing with that? How do you look at that?
So it's really interesting. In the panel discussions, I tried to make the audience understand on the engineering, procurement, construction contractor's point of view that the estimate is the key. It's key for our clients to get funding or to make decisions whether to go with the process. And what I've all seen as a challenge is as far as capturing the logistics cost as well as what I call the escalations associated with, or de-escalations associated with logistics, such as what the bunker and surcharges are. Those are all important in an estimate, and often what I've seen is estimators not taking maybe traditional factors versus getting real data. So that's where our logistics providers and our freight forwarders and our customs clearance agents can come in. And that usually occurs in the front-end engineering design stage.
We've heard in the past that transportation costs and logistics are a small piece of the project. But for the first time yesterday in one of the sessions, someone was saying that now every piece of a contract is important, can have an effect on the final decision because things are so tight now.
Yes. So it's interesting you mentioned that. Right now, what we're seeing specifically, let's say on process modules, or coming from, let's say, from alternate sources, let's say outside of North America for a project in North America, we're seeing sometimes the logistics costs be such a factor where we might want to look at, although we prefer to do the activity for HSC-wise and for productivity-wise off-site, but with the cost sometimes with the logistics costs, that could be a factor. So I would say now more than ever, we're seeing logistics cost be one of the determinants. It might be cheaper to fabricate something, let's say a module offsite, but what is the current logistics cost and what is the schedule?
Interesting.
So that's where it's become a focal point,
Yeah.
at least in my world.
Yeah, that's interesting. I did want to touch on, because you brought it up, and it's one of my favorite energy sources. Talk to me about the potential for modular nuclear reactors.
So it's interesting, as I mentioned, two of my previous employers are in that space. One is a construction contractor that's taken an equity investment with my previous employer on that. And so there are opportunities on that for the rail side, as well as obviously on the heavy haul side. But specifically, the other opportunities on the freight forwarder side as well too is bringing these in as far as trade compliance, customs side of it. And that's why I encourage the logistics community, and I think I mentioned that, is not only reach out to your traditional contacts, let's say the logistics representatives for these organizations, but really get into on the project side and who these project managers are, who are the construction contractors for these projects. I think that is really the key, because often on the tactical level, on the execution level, they will need to be educated and understand some of these areas where it's not areas that they're familiar with, such as trade compliance, importation, and making sure that the estimate is relevant. And as you mentioned, the contract type as well too. How good is the contract as far as the pricing is concerned?
Yeah, absolutely. So just in 3 words, you only get 3 words, what's your outlook for projects in 22?
I think projects in 22 are going to pick up. I think specifically what you'll see is on the EPC side, some regional contractors get some of the work as well.
Oh, really? Okay.
And so I think, and I think on the owner side too, there will be some more developers, specifically on the renewable side, because generally on the wind turbines, the developers most traditionally have made the decisions on that.
Yes.
So it's very important on the logistics community to get tied in with some of these wind turbine manufacturers. And also on the EPC side, I think the large EPCs will come into play. Will be on the side of doing some of these large-scale offshore wind opportunities, and as well as these module opportunities.
So are you optimistic?
Yes. Yes. Optimistic on the basis of what I've seen, and also the diversity of what I've seen. Although I will stress. One needs to be cognizant on the margins. The margins have been a little tighter now than they traditionally were, and so you might not have all of the project types of folks that you've had in the past. And so you have to be creative in your business development side in ensuring who are the correct commercial decision makers for that particular project or scope.
Okay, absolutely. There's a lot of really good information, and I appreciate you letting us know that.
Always a pleasure. Thank you very much.
All right, thanks.